The Trump family, from property to politics. The Trump family's story begins long before Donald Trump ever stepped into the political spotlight. It is a tale rooted in ambition, migration, and the pursuit of the American dream. From modest beginnings in Germany to the skyscrapers of Manhattan and ultimately the White House, the Trump legacy spans more than 100 years of transformation in America. The family's American journey started with Frederick Trump, a young barber's apprentice from Kallstadt, Germany, who emigrated to the United States in 1885. Arriving with little money and no English, Frederick was drawn to opportunity in the New World. He began modestly, but quickly realized that fortune could be found on the frontier. During the Yukon gold rush of the 1990s, Frederick built his first real wealth. He set up restaurants and hotels catering to miners, where food, drink, and lodging were in high demand. Though controversial for their rough reputation, these ventures established the Trump family's first foothold in American business. It was the beginning of a dynasty built not on gold mining itself, but on servicing those in pursuit of it. Frederick eventually returned to New York, marrying Elizabeth Christ and starting a family. He invested in real estate, purchasing land and building modest homes in Queens. These small but steady projects were the seeds of a family business that would grow dramatically under the next generation. Their son, Fred Trump, born in 1905, became the true architect of the Trump real estate empire. Even as a teenager, Fred displayed remarkable drive and entrepreneurial instincts. By the age of 15, he had built his first home in Queens. By his early 20s, he had formed his own construction company. His career coincided with America's rapid urbanization and the expansion of New York City's outer boroughs. Fred specialized in middle-class housing, particularly for families returning from World War II. With government loans and subsidies, he built thousands of affordable homes for veterans and working-class families. These developments, marked by efficiency and scale, brought prosperity to Fred and established him as one of the most successful builders in New York. But Fred was more than a builder. He was a strategist. He understood the importance of branding, often advertising his developments as luxurious, even when they were modest. He recognized that real estate was as much about perception as construction. This emphasis on image would later influence his son Donald's approach to business and self-promotion. Fred's business was not without controversy. He faced accusations of cutting corners and was even investigated by federal authorities for profiteering during wartime housing projects. Yet despite criticism, he continued to expand his empire, leaving behind a portfolio of developments that reshaped large swaths of Brooklyn and Queens. Donald Trump was born into this world of bricks and mortar in 1946. Growing up in a wealthy household, he was exposed to real estate from a young age. Unlike his father, Donald was drawn to the glamour of Manhattan rather than the practicality of outer borough housing. Where Fred saw stability, Donald saw skyscrapers, hotels, and a chance to put the Trump name in lights. In the 1970s, Donald took his first steps into the Manhattan real estate market. His breakthrough came with the redevelopment of the Commodore Hotel into the Grand Hyatt. With an eye for spectacle, he secured financing, negotiated tax breaks, and transformed a decaying property into a gleaming landmark. The project marked Donald's arrival as a bold new player in New York real estate. Donald quickly realized that his greatest asset was not just property, it was his persona. He cultivated an image of luxury, excess, and boldness, branding himself as the ultimate dealmaker. Trump Tower, opened in 1983, became both a business venture and a symbol of the Trump lifestyle: gold, glass, and unapologetic grandeur. The Trump Organization expanded into casinos, golf courses, and global licensing deals. Donald's name became a brand attached not only to buildings, but also to books, merchandise, and eventually television. The reality show, The Apprentice, cemented his image as a tough, no-nonsense businessman watched by millions of Americans each week. But alongside success came setbacks. The 1990s were marked by bankruptcy filings, collapsing casino ventures, and massive debt. Critics predicted Donald's empire would crumble. Yet, like his grandfather and father before him, Donald had a knack for survival. He restructured his business, leaned into branding, and turned his name itself into a source of wealth. The Trump children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, emerged as active figures in the business, carrying the Trump legacy into a fourth generation. Each took leadership roles in real estate, development, and branding, preparing to inherit the empire that had begun with Friedrich's gamble more than a century earlier. Then came 2015, when Donald Trump announced his candidacy for President of the United States. It was a dramatic pivot from real estate to politics, yet in many ways it followed the Trump family tradition, seizing opportunity, challenging convention, and embracing spectacle. Trump's political rise shocked the establishment. With a message of populism, nationalism, and America First, he connected with millions of Americans who felt left behind by globalization and elite politics. The same skills that had built his brand, media mastery, showmanship, and bold promises, propelled him into the White House. The 2016 election was not just a political event, it was the culmination of generations of ambition. From Friedrich's frontier hotels to Fred's suburban housing projects, from Donald's gilded towers to the Oval Office, the Trump story became a uniquely American saga. Wealth, power, controversy, and reinvention, all wrapped up in one family name. The Trump presidency brought both fervent support and intense opposition. To his admirers, he was a fighter who broke with tradition and gave voice to forgotten Americans. To his critics, he was a divisive figure who bent democratic norms. Regardless of perspective, the Trump family's leap from property to politics ensured their place in history. As America debates their legacy, one truth is undeniable. The Trump family transformed from immigrants seeking opportunity into one of the most powerful dynasties in modern history. Their journey reflects the promise and the contradictions of the American dream itself. Donald Trump's presidency was, in many ways, a culmination of everything the Trump family had stood for: ambition, branding, and survival. Yet it was also a radical departure from the real estate-driven world that had defined the family for more than a century. Instead of shaping skylines, Trump was now shaping policy, commanding armies, and influencing global affairs. The stakes were far higher than any business deal, and the world was watching. One of Trump's greatest strengths as a politician was his ability to connect directly with people. His use of social media, especially Twitter, gave him an unfiltered megaphone unlike anything a president had wielded before. For his supporters, this was refreshing honesty. For critics, it was reckless. But just like his father and grandfather had understood the value of being close to their customers, Donald understood the power of being close to his base. The Trump family's presence in the White House was also unique. Unlike previous first families, who often stayed in the background, Donald's children were visible participants in his presidency. Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner took on advisory roles. Donald Jr. and Eric remained closely tied to the Trump organization, but their influence was still felt. This merging of family and politics was not unprecedented in American history, but the scale of it was striking. Throughout his term, Trump repeatedly drew on his identity as a businessman rather than a politician. His speeches were peppered with deal-making language, his policies often framed as negotiations rather than legislative acts. This approach resonated with millions of Americans who felt that Washington had become too stagnant, too bureaucratic, and too detached from everyday struggles. At the same time, Trump's presidency was marked by controversy and division. From immigration policies to international relations, from impeachment trials to the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, his decisions ignited fierce debates. The Trump name, already polarizing in the business world, became even more so in politics. Yet even amid this storm, Trump maintained a base of loyalty unmatched in modern American politics. For his supporters, he was a man who spoke their language, who stood up to elites, and who promised to restore a vision of America they believed had been lost. For his detractors, he symbolized a deepening fracture in American democracy. What is often overlooked in the story of Donald Trump is how deeply his family history informed his approach. Frederick Trump had chased opportunity in the Yukon. Fred Trump had seized the post-war housing boom. Donald Trump had captured Manhattan's skyline. In each generation, a member of the Trump family had found the next frontier. For Donald, that frontier was politics. The Trump presidency also tested the durability of the family brand. Unlike real estate or television, politics was unforgiving, and scandals carried higher stakes. Yet Donald leaned on the same resilience that had defined his ancestors. He embraced conflict, turned criticism into fuel, and always kept the spotlight firmly on himself and the Trump name. When the 2020 election brought his presidency to an end, it did not end the Trump family's role in American life. Instead, it opened a new chapter. Donald Trump remained a dominant figure in Republican politics, while speculation grew about his children potentially running for office themselves. The idea of a Trump political dynasty, once unimaginable, now seemed entirely possible. The Trump family story is not only about skyscrapers, casinos, or campaign rallies. It is also about reinvention. Each generation has faced setbacks, but each has found a way to recover, adapt, and seize opportunity. This persistence, whether admired or criticized, is the hallmark of the Trump legacy. Frederick Trump built houses for working-class families. Donald Trump built towers for elites. And now the Trump name has been inscribed into the annals of American politics. The question for the future is whether this legacy will expand into a lasting political dynasty or remain the singular achievement of one controversial presidency. To understand the Trump family is to understand the balance between ambition and controversy. Their story is deeply tied to the history of America itself. The immigrant dream, the rise of modern capitalism, the transformation of cities, and the populist waves of modern politics. They embody both the promise and the contradictions of the American dream. In the years since leaving office, Donald Trump has remained a towering figure in American discourse. His speeches, rallies, and endorsements continue to shape elections across the country. Meanwhile, his business interests, though under scrutiny, still bear the Trump name, keeping the brand alive even as its meaning evolves. For Ivanka Trump, her White House role elevated her beyond business into the realm of politics and diplomacy. Eric and Donald Jr. have become prominent public voices in their own right, energizing supporters and defending the family legacy. The younger generation may yet determine whether the Trump story continues on the political stage. At its core, the Trump saga is not simply about one man, but about a family that learned to thrive in the limelight. From Friedrich's restaurants to Donald's rallies, the Trumps have understood that visibility is power. They have never shied away from controversy, because controversy has always kept them at the center of attention. And so, more than a century after Frederick Trump arrived in America, the family stands as one of the most famous and divisive dynasties in the world. Their wealth, ambition, resilience, and showmanship have shaped not only skylines, but also the course of American politics. As future historians look back, they will see a family that defined eras: the frontier spirit of Frederick, the suburban boom of Fred, the golden towers of Donald, and the populist surge of a presidency. Few families have captured both the opportunities and the tensions of America so completely. The Trump story is, for now, unfinished. Its next chapters will depend on whether the family continues in politics, retreats into business, or reinvents itself once again. What is certain, however, is that the Trump name will remain etched into America's cultural and political landscape for generations to come. Like the gilded letters on Trump Tower, the family has built a legacy that demands to be noticed, loved by some, despised by others, but impossible to ignore. This is the Trump family, from property to politics, from immigrant beginnings to the highest office in the land. The Trump family story did not end with Donald Trump's presidency. In many ways, it only grew larger. The post-White House years have shown that Trump's influence extends far beyond the Oval Office. Like a brand that refuses to fade, the Trump name continues to shape conversations in boardrooms, living rooms, and voting booths across the United States. What makes the Trump dynasty so fascinating is its ability to adapt. In business, in television, and in politics, the family has continually reinvented itself. For some, this reinvention is admirable, a testament to entrepreneurial spirit. For others, it represents opportunism. But regardless of one's perspective, the result is undeniable. The Trumps have made themselves central to America's story. Donald Trump's exit from the White House was unlike that of most presidents. Instead of retreating into quiet life, he doubled down, maintaining an active role in the Republican Party. His rallies drew tens of thousands, echoing the energy of his campaign days. It was as though he had never left the political stage, a reminder that the Trump brand thrives on attention and momentum. The question of dynasty looms large. Will one of Trump's children carry forward the political mantle? Ivanka Trump, polished and strategic, has long been seen as the most likely heir. Donald Jr., fiery and outspoken, commands a strong following among the conservative base. Eric, though less visible, remains deeply involved in the family's business and brand. Together, they represent the possibility of a Trump political legacy that stretches far beyond a single presidency. Critics argue that the Trump family's political rise reflects deep divisions in American society. Supporters see them as champions of forgotten communities, while opponents view them as symbols of populism gone too far. But perhaps this duality is what ensures their continued relevance. No matter how polarizing, the Trump name guarantees attention. The legacy of Donald Trump's presidency will be debated for decades. Historians will dissect his policies, his style, and the way he reshaped political communication. Yet one cannot separate the man from his family. They were not merely bystanders, they were active participants, shaping decisions, crafting messages, and building a unique image of American leadership. From a broader perspective, the Trump saga reflects the evolution of the American dream. Frederick Trump sought fortune in a gold rush. Fred Trump rode the wave of suburban expansion. Donald Trump chased fame, wealth, and power in New York. And finally, he pursued and won the presidency. Each step tells us not just about the Trumps, but about America itself and its shifting values. For millions, Trump embodied the frustrations of an America that felt left behind. For millions more, he represented a threat to democratic norms. This division is perhaps his most lasting political achievement, forcing the country to confront its own fractures. Whether admired or despised, the Trump presidency has ensured that the family name will be studied alongside America's greatest political dynasties. Looking forward, the Trump organization itself faces challenges. Legal battles, financial investigations, and the pressures of political scrutiny have tested the resilience of the empire. Yet, just as Fred Trump endured the Great Depression and Donald Trump overcame bankruptcies, the family has shown remarkable survival instincts. Betting against the Trumps has rarely been wise. At the heart of their story lies a truth: visibility is power. Frederick found it by serving prospectors. Fred built neighborhoods that thousands called home. Donald built towers, casinos, and an image that spanned the globe. In politics, Donald and his children turned visibility into influence, ensuring that the Trump story will remain part of America's ongoing narrative. Even as the nation moves beyond the Trump presidency, the conversation continues to orbit around the family. From nightly news panels to social media debates, the Trump name generates passion. The family's ability to dominate discourse is its greatest legacy and its greatest weapon for the future. The Trump children in particular symbolize how the dynasty could extend its reach. Ivanka Trump's polished diplomacy appeals to moderates. Donald Jr.'s firebrand style energizes conservatives. Eric's steady loyalty strengthens the brand internally. Together, they ensure that the Trump story is not confined to one man's presidency, but may evolve into something much larger. The connection between family, brand, and politics is what sets the Trumps apart. Other business families have built wealth. Other political dynasties have shaped history, but rarely have the two been so seamlessly combined. The Trumps have blurred the line between private enterprise and public power in ways that will continue to spark debate. For all the controversy, the Trump legacy is a reminder of how one family can influence a nation's culture and direction. They are not merely political actors or business moguls. They are both, operating in a world where visibility and branding are as valuable as policy and law. Their story, from a barber's son in Bavaria to the White House, is one of relentless ambition. The details may be messy, the methods polarizing, but the trajectory is extraordinary. Few families embody the possibilities and contradictions of America as vividly as the Trumps. As historians debate the meaning of Donald Trump's presidency, they will also ask, was this the peak of the Trump dynasty, or the beginning of a political lineage that will shape generations? The answer remains unwritten, but the stage has already been set. For now, the Trump family continues to stand as one of the most recognizable names in the world. Their journey from property to politics reflects not only their own ambitions, but also the changing landscape of America itself. And just as skyscrapers defined Donald Trump's business career, the political arena may yet define his family's future. The story of the Trump family, then, is still unfolding. Whether celebrated as defenders of the forgotten or condemned as disruptors of democracy, they remain impossible to ignore. That, perhaps, is their greatest triumph. And so, the Trump saga marches forward, loud, controversial, determined, and forever bound to the story of America. As the Trump story continues into the 21st century, one theme becomes clear. Their legacy is not simply wealth or power, but endurance. The family has repeatedly faced setbacks, economic downturns, political scandals, and public criticism, yet they re-emerge stronger, with their name still commanding global recognition. This resilience is what makes them stand out among American dynasties. The Trump Organization, though battered by scrutiny, remains a powerful symbol of luxury and ambition. From skyscrapers in Manhattan to golf courses across the globe, the empire stretches beyond politics. Each property reflects a family brand built on confidence, grandeur, and visibility. For supporters, these are symbols of success. For critics, they represent excess. Either way, they are impossible to ignore. Donald Trump's role in reshaping the Republican Party will be remembered as one of his most significant impacts. He transformed the party from a traditional conservative base into a movement defined by populism and nationalism. This shift altered American politics, creating fault lines that still define elections and debates today. The Trump family remains central to this transformation. In Ivanka Trump, many see a modern version of political aristocracy. Her calm demeanor, sharp business skills, and ability to appeal to both elite and working-class audiences make her an intriguing figure. For some, she represents the future of the Trump legacy, polished, adaptable, and international in scope. Donald Jr., meanwhile, embodies the energy of the base. His fiery speeches, combative social media presence, and loyal following suggest a figure prepared to carry the populist torch for years to come. Where his father thrives on showmanship, Donald Jr. thrives on direct engagement with supporters. He speaks their language, making him a powerful figure in the conservative movement. Frederick Trump, though quieter, plays a key role in ensuring the business and brand remain steady. While less visible on the political stage, his loyalty and behind-the-scenes influence highlight how each member of the family serves a distinct purpose in maintaining the Trump empire. The next generation, Trump's grandchildren, add another layer to the dynasty's future. Though too young to participate directly, they symbolize continuity. Just as Fred Trump passed the business to Donald, so too could Donald's children pass politics and enterprise to their own. The Trump name may remain part of America's fabric for decades. But legacy is never simple. For every supporter who praises the Trumps as champions of free enterprise and patriotism, there are detractors who see them as self-serving opportunists. This duality keeps the family in constant headlines. In American politics, controversy is often a form of power, and few have mastered this better than the Trumps. The cultural impact of Donald Trump's presidency extended beyond politics. It influenced television, media, and even comedy. He became a fixture not only in campaign rallies but in late-night monologues, memes, and social debates. For many, his personality blurred the line between politics and entertainment, reshaping how leaders are perceived in a media-driven world. For the United States, the Trump era served as both a mirror and a test. It reflected divisions that had long existed, but were now impossible to ignore. It tested the limits of institutions, media, and civic unity. Whether one views the result as renewal or damage, it is undeniable that the Trump years will be studied as a pivotal chapter in American history. The question now is whether the Trump family can maintain their influence in a political environment that is constantly evolving. Rivals are rising, movements are shifting, and the American public is ever restless. But the family's ability to command attention, rally supporters, and dominate conversation remains a powerful advantage. Observers often note that the Trumps thrive in chaos. Where other families might retreat, they advance. Where others might crumble under pressure, they adapt. This instinct, perhaps inherited from Frederick Trump's adventurous gamble in leaving Germany, has defined the dynasty for over a century. At its core, the Trump saga is not just about one man's rise to the presidency. It is about a family that embodies both the promise and the contradictions of America. Ambition and controversy, success and scandal, fame and infamy all intertwine to form the Trump legacy. For many Americans, Trump redefined what leadership could look like. He was not polished, not conventional, but he was bold and relentless. These qualities, echoed in his children, suggest that the family may yet have another chapter in politics. Looking abroad, the Trump brand continues to hold global resonance. From Europe to Asia, the name carries weight, sometimes admired, sometimes mocked, but always recognized. This international presence underscores that the Trumps are not merely an American family, but a global phenomenon. The political battles of tomorrow may look different, but the Trump style, loud, unapologetic, and commanding, will likely remain part of the nation's discourse. Already, speculation continues about future campaigns, endorsements, and media ventures involving the family. Ultimately, the Trump dynasty illustrates how wealth, fame, and politics can merge into a single narrative. It shows how ambition, when paired with visibility, can transcend industries and even centuries. For better or worse, the Trumps have achieved what few families ever do: lasting relevance in the American story. As America moves forward, the Trump name will remain a reminder of an era of disruption, change, and confrontation. Whether one views it as progress or regression, the family's role in shaping national identity is undeniable. And so the Trump family continues to walk the line between business and politics, celebrity and statesmanship, admiration and controversy. Their story is not yet finished. In many ways, it is just beginning.